Oh. Oh.
Is something wrong?
I can't sleep.
Yes, I had gathered that. I meant more along the lines of why. I mean, you do seem to be putting more effort into trying to sleep than you did into making love.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Oh, how awful of me.
No, that's just a descriptive analogy. It's not a criticism.
Well, it's not exactly a morale booster either.
No, but sex we can have any time, almost anywhere. Whereas sleep I usually find rather convenient in bed between the hours of midnight and 8 a.m. You know, the bit when the sky goes dark. And people put covers over budgie cages. When yawning starts to set in.
Oh, yes, I remember the theory. I remember them inventing Valium to make sleep accessible to the masses. It's the bloody practice I have trouble with. I worry. I lie down, I close my eyes, and I worry.
Sounds reminiscent of your description of a typical day at work.
Oh, yes, I worry in my own time as well, as I believe in being thorough. I've never liked the night times. I used to be just bogeymen, but this last week I've counted 416 horsemen of the apocalypse the moment I switched the light off. Death, war, famine, disease, baldness, the oil shortage, unpaid parking tickets, destruction of the equatorial rainforests, another royal wedding. With my luck, if I counted sheep, they'd be in an abattoir.
Yes, well...
I mean, life is bad enough during the day, God knows, but at night, in here, there's enough going on to make half a dozen training films for the Samaritans.
What on earth were you like in the middle of the night as a child? How did you get to sleep then?
I didn't. And I was always being picked on by hobgoblins and gangs of witches. Giants with hairy armpits. I didn't know what sleep was till I was 23. I'd close my eyes and it would be like an Hieronymus Bosch magic lantern show.
Well, how was life in the womb? Did you manage to get a regular kip there?
Unfortunately, most of the womb period is rather a blank. I had hypnosis on it once. You know, it seems I complained a lot about the dark. Well, I mean, it's permanent nighttime in there. I think I probably wasn't a very happy embryo.
You probably weren't a bundle of laughs as a sperm. Sorry. If I'm honest, I'm none too keen on the dark either.
Aren't you?
No, not really. Can't think why anybody should be. Except mushrooms, possibly. Still, one thing I do like about the 20th century, it is well lit.
Yeah, it's always surprised me that God, with all the facilities at his disposal, should have chosen such a depressing colour as black to make the nights with. I mean, you can understand Henry Ford using it to make Model Ts to save money, but, I mean, according to the book of Genesis, the creation of the earth was a no-expense-spared project. No, personally, I'd have chosen a relaxing pastel shade for after the sun goes down.
My Sunday school said night was black to see the angels better. I don't think it worked. Not in Hounslow. How old were you when you first slept without the light on?
Without a light, but with an illicit bicycle lamp, and then a small torch, and very occasionally a box of small investors. 6, yes, because apparently when I was 7, according to my mother, I inquired about the flying time from Transylvania to Crouch End. Could the forces of evil do the round trip in a night? And if I became one of the undead, would I still have to go to school?
You really were a precocious little manic depressive, weren't you? At that age, all I worried about was Hans Christian Andersen.
Hans Christian Andersen?
Yes. I wasn't a very pretty child.
Hmm.
You see, when it comes to physical beauty, it seems to me there are two basic requirements. One, you must have good bits.
Yeah.
And two, they must be attractively assembled.
Yeah.
Well, my problem was my bits weren't up to much.
Oh, dear.
And they were badly assembled.
Where does H.C. Andersen come in?
Well, he held out the hope that I might just be an ugly duckling. And that one day, my badly assembled gawky bits might be transformed into an irresistibly beautiful swan, so to speak. With a retroussé nose, a Munro wiggle, and size C cups. The trouble is, it wasn't made clear at what age this metamorphosis would take place. So I used to spend all night under the sheets with my torch, checking if any new bits were on the way. That's the difference between you and me. I go to an analyst because I'm paranoid, but you go to him because you're neurotic. We are the Mr. and Mrs. Jack Spratt of psychoanalysis.
Really?
You're worried there's nobody real out there. I'm worried there's lots of them out there and they all think I'm ugly. A swift, heartfelt cry of nonsense wouldn't have gone amiss there.
I'm sorry. Nonsense. No, I was just thinking about what you said, you know, about me being a precocious worrier. It brought it all back to me, how I was the only child in my primary school to be sent home suffering from angst. Do you know, I can remember worrying at the age of 3.
3?
Yes. It was Christmas Eve, and I was lying in bed waiting for Santa. And somehow, my father, false beard, the lot, managed to get in and out the room without my seeing him. But he got the presents muddled up. See, we had a young cousin staying, and he came back in. And the first sight I ever had of Santa Claus was of him taking presents out of my stuff. I think my expectations of life were cruelly stunted since that brief, traumatic moment.
That's a very touching and poignant little story, Philip. Nonetheless, do you really think it's reasonable at 36 years of age to be shelling out 15 quid a go to an analyst in order to discuss Santa shock?
Well, I don't anymore. I've stopped going to see him.
Since when?
Oh, it's over a week ago now. I came to realise that I was ready to deal with life on my own, by myself. I'm ready to be more buoyant. Oh, well, yeah, this is just because it's night time. I mean, night time always depresses me. I'll be fine in the morning.
Jolly good. I'm really pleased you're going to be fine in the morning. I'm going to be absolutely knackered. Good night.
Well, there is a real world out there, but if half these stories are true, not for very long. If it isn't an ecological disaster, or an economic catastrophe, or a bacteriological accident, then it looks like we're all going to go via a badly organised Third World War. But even the recipe today is a useful little meal to help prevent disintegration of the bowel system. The first thing I do these days is read the stock press to find out if I'm going to live long enough to read the rest of the paper.
I do think it's noble of you to worry about the world at large. I never get beyond my breasts.
What's the matter with your breasts?
I don't think they're a matching pair.
Nonsense. You've just mentioned about the only two things I have absolutely no worries about.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though. With me, usually starts out with baldness and ends up with a nuclear holocaust or starving in the third world or whatever.
You do have an obsession about your hair, don't you?
And my teeth.
You've got bad teeth.
I've got wonderful teeth, solid gold. I've got a mouth like an Egyptian tomb. My dentist tells me that gold is good for the teeth. I hope he's right. He's put about 1.5 Kruger rounds in my mouth. He keeps giving me high-tech toothbrushes and special fluoride pastes. I mean, all I really need is a soft cloth and some Brasso.
Oh, it's getting very untidy in here again, Philip.
Yeah.
God, you are such a squalid individual. Just look at all this washing up. It amazes me, Philip, having discovered what you're like, that you managed to fit this whole kitchen by yourself.
Yes. Yeah, well, it's not something I'm likely to do again, I can tell you. God, David Owen's only 44.
What?
Well, he was Foreign Secretary when he was 39, coping with the problems of the world. I'm 36, I can't even cope with a clump of hair that's gone walkabout and a spot of brewer's droop. I mean, I'd always thought that the compensation for ageing was becoming grown up as well. I seem to be just decaying gently into a decrepit adolescent.
When did you first start worrying about ageing? When you were 5 or 6?
About 12 years ago. I remember it vividly.
I thought you might.
It was about my career then. I woke up in a cold sweat and I thought, I'm 24 and I haven't got a swivel chair. It was a bad moment. Because I was on the open plan in those days.
What?
At work, you start off with a 2-drawer desk and a polypropylene stack away, just off the main gangway. You feel rather as though you've broken down and pulled off onto the hard shoulder, you know? There are 2 major status symbols, a swivel chair and then an office. Well, they were in 1970. I mean, swivel chairs are pretty universal now. We live in exciting times. God almighty.
What?
While we've been asleep,
While who's been asleep?
while we haven't been asleep, another 200 kilotons of nuclear nasties have rolled off the production line.
Philip, I thought you said things were going to appear brighter in the morning.
What, in the thermonuclear light of day, you mean?
Bit early for callers, isn't it?
Oh, that'll be the postman. Doubtless my bills have got so large now they have to be sent by parcel post.
As I say, I'm sorry to bother you like this, Mr. Rose. But you know how awful I can be without milk.
Oh, it's pretty dire.
I mean, the wife, she is really devoted to her grape nuts. Yeah, I don't want to go to work without me tea either, because I've got a big day today.
Aha.
If you don't mind my saying so, you're not looking none too hot this morning, Mr. Rose.
No, I've been awake all night, I'm afraid.
Really? Tummy giving you a bit of jip, is it?
No, it's his head that's giving him jib. Or rather, what's going on inside it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Rove, I didn't realise you had, Look, don't worry, I can drink it black.
No.
Don't be silly. You're not interrupting anything.
Liz, this is Mr. Denzil, my next-door neighbour, and a dab hand with a Black & Decker. This is Liz, a friend of mine.
Hello.
Hello.
You should have come round earlier. About 3 a.m. We could have done with some company then. Now, would you like your milk in a bottle or in a cup of tea?
Oh, well...
Yeah, stay and have a cup of tea.
Go on, cheer us up.
Oh, well, tart. Nasty things, migraines.
Yes.
Straight through the brain they go, don't they? In one ear, out the other and back again, non-stop. Head fit to burst, like a great big cabbage that's stuffed full of red-hot spikes, right?
Do you suffer from them a lot?
Me? No, never. No. There's only one thing you can do, is lie still in the dark, without any lights on. That is the only way you'll get any peace of mind.
Thank you, yes. Well, I'll try and remember that.
Oh, about 2 years now. Isn't that right, Mr. Rofe? Because we had this winter, the cold one, when I was crawling round your system with the blow lamp for you. Then we had the winter before, when we had all that trouble getting the nest down out of the guttering. Oh, wait a minute. I've gone and forgot the dead leaves. That was blocking up your toilet overflow. Well, leaves, that must have been autumn time. That would be about 2.5 years now I've known you're Mr. Rofe.
Do you ever see him in the summer?
Do I ever see you in the summer? I bet you've not told her about that trouble you had with that French stew of yours.
No.
No. I don't know why it always seems to happen to you, Mr. Rofe, doesn't it? 3 hours I was, my head underneath that sink, trying to get rid of that, what was it called? Birth Bourguignon? You got stuck round a U-bend?
Birth à la Bourguignon, eh?
I did the dumpling version.
Dear me. Rock solid it was. Not that I mind, of course not. No, that's all part of being a neighbour.
Sounds more like part of being a builder. I wish you'd live next door to me. I need a new damp-proof course.
No. It's just that me and the wife, we like to keep an eye on Mr. Rofe, you know, make sure he's all right. Because it's living on your own lark, coping with life all by yourself. Well, it's not really your cup of tea, is it?
I don't know, I think I managed to...
What was it you said to the wife the other day? If you were cast away alone on a desert island, your one luxury object would be a Mr. Denzel. I appreciate that.
You mentioned your wife. How does her vigilance help with Philip's burden of life?
Well, miss, I try and keep an eye on his structurals, DIY-wise. Whereas the wife, well, she has a rather, well, how shall I put it? A rather particular function. Eh, Mr. Rowe?
Oh, really?
She takes the spiders out of the bath.
Oh, yes. Mr. Rofe, he's not keen on our eight-legged friends, are you, Mr. Rofe?
No.
Mind you, that whopper we found in here that time, do you remember? Oh, gave me a bit of a turn, I will admit.
In here?
Yes, miss. Huge it was. It was when I was helping the builders put the kitchen in. Now, what I mean is, the office is probably your castle. That is to say, I'm more your sort of home-loving English bloke. You know, wife, dog, slippers in the hearth, bit of polyfiller in the evenings. Whereas you put your energies into your work. Hmm?
No.
No.
Oh.
Now, I find my work takes my energy out of me, such little as I have and such little as I do.
Oh. Because I remember as you were, you know, depressed last weekend, and I thought, well, he's pining for his work.
No. It's just that weekends always depress me.
And newspapers and nighttime.
Oh.
Now, I have a problem with work. I mean, in general, I find it difficult to believe that insurance claims analysis is central to the meaning of life. You see, I feel that if millions of years of human evolution have culminated in my spending a lifetime devoted to the assessment of claims for woodworm damage, then somewhere along the line, there's been a cocker.
Yes. Ah. Doers and thinkers, that's what it is.
Sorry?
The difference between me and you. I mean, I am one of life's doers. You know, on the go, active. Like, for instance, when you was worried about your lawn.
Yes.
And I cut it for you.
Yeah.
You are one of life's thinkers. You know, like Rodin's thinker. You know, hand on head outside the Louvre.
Oh, yes, I know. Well, yeah, I must admit, I do have a tendency to identify with him, but then I've always suspected that he wasn't merely a thinker, but also a bit of a worrier as well.
Oh. You worry a bit, do you?
Yes.
That's not good for migraines. Mind you can't help but worry these days, can you? Price of things, what they are. I mean, just going down to grocers can age you 10 years.
I try and avoid shopping. But there's some things you can't avoid.
No.
Nationally, globally, cosmically.
Where we're coming from, where we're going to.
Well, yes. There's that, and there's while we're here as well.
Yeah. What exactly do you mean by angst?
Oh, well, it's anxiety. I mean, it's German for anxiety. It's rather like life putting a knee in your privates. Mentally.
Oh, yeah, I know it's German, Mr. Rowe, but why can't you just call it anxiety? Why go and call it angst?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, well, I suppose things in German just sound that much more solid, more definite. I mean, the Germans are a very scientific people. Anxiety has always sounded a bit wishy-washy to me, but I suppose angst, being German, I mean, it sounds that much more reliable.
Like Volkswagens?
Yes, like Volkswagen.
I mean, they go on and on forever.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, there are many different sorts of angst.
Oh, of course. Not just personal inadequacies. No. But personal inadequacies that's like being angst about yourself and what your friends think about you.
And whether you've got any friends, and why they're all doing so much better than you are, and how many of them are sleeping with your wife. And then there's the humiliation that you're the only one who can't start his car in the morning, and the guilt that you didn't become the opera-singing brain surgeon your parents wanted. The fear that you'll become unloved and unwanted, and the panic that you'll end up old and senile in a bedsit, and decrepit and destitute and incontinent, and there's just feeling the total futility of your life in general.
And it's not just that.
No!
Well, I didn't know that about the Aborigines, Mr. Rowe. That is a terrible thing to happen. All 140,000 of them.
He's a really nice chap, isn't he, Denzel?
Lovely man.
Really restores your faith. I mean, wanting to give a week's wages to an Aborigine charity. Now, that is typical.
You've perked up, Philip.
Yeah, well, I think it's done me good, chatting to him.
Aren't you going to be late for work?
Well, only a bit. Aha, that is the postman. Oh, hello again.
Terribly sorry to bother you yet again. But would you believe it, my phone's gone up the pictures.
Good Lord.
I wonder if I could use yours.
Oh, please.
Thanks. It's only a local call.
Help yourself.
Thanks.
I'm off now, Philip. I'm staying at my place tonight. At least I can get a bit of sleep there. I'll phone you tomorrow.
OK, and look, I'm really sorry about last night.
Oh, hello, Brian. It's George here.
So you should be.
No, mate,
Don't lose any sleep.
I'm not coming in to work today. I'm not feeling too well.
Bye then.
Bye.
No, mate, no. I've got a migraine.